it's me again. Good morning and welcome to part 2 of MMTLP, the investigation. So, drink a lot of coffee. This is nice and warm. It's a bit chilly, but that's okay. Actually, no, it's 70 degrees outside. Yesterday I tried filming this and I was sweating. There's a lot to go over with this episode, and I hope I can kind of cobble it together, like edit it in something cohesive, because it's very circular, like keeps going back, and then this goes here, but then it'll come back later, and then it goes back to this event. So instead of the boogeyman theory, which I was gonna put in for people's reactions, and that would be a little bit clickbaity. Then not really, because a lot of this looked like it was pinned on a boogeyman of unknown origin. I think it's more fitting if you call this the butterfly effect, because Nanotechnology Securities, and their logo is that butterfly, and then Meta likes to post, I guess, the butterfly too, although their logo isn't the butterfly. Their logo is like a beam of all the colors in that white light spectrum. But this more or less is the butterfly effect. So let's get into it. Remember, this kind of syncs with that timeline, but then we're going to go circular. We're going to Jeremy Bearimy it a bunch. This all began, the first instance was when Atlas Trading came in February, and the price was high. The price of Torchlight was high, and that's Torchlight decided to raise some money as the price was climbing. Torchlight decided to raise some money for Metamaterials and Torchlight themselves. So what this first offering did was it paid off Torchlight's debt, which was great because it could equal to bigger dividend for you. No debt means bigger dividend, so that was great. Number 2 is this allowed for the company to test to see how easily it could raise capital with the trend, with the meme, so to speak. Meme stocks are usually considered In this case, it really worked everybody's advantage. And the buzz worked to the company's advantage in several ways. Torchlight was able to raise capital with the February offering. It paid off Torchlight's debt. And it gave Metamaterials some money to run the Oro Grande and Hazel projects post-merger until the properties were spun out for sale or otherwise. The second instance is in April when Torchlight tweets that they're having problems with filing because now financials are stale. And then when they refile, the other companies are stale. This causes a negative feedback loop. This is what I think happened when financials are stale. So one of the listing requirements, according to this article, to get on the Nasdaq is you have to have a specific cash flow. You have to have a specific income and cash flow. Well, this created a big problem. Even though Torchlight was grandfathered into Nasdaq, Meta now can't uplist to Nasdaq because even through RTO, because they're lacking cash flow. They're lacking the cash flow because they're an R&D company. And Torchlight, it was just sitting on their land for some time. They lacked cash flow. What do you do? Well, according to the same article, SEC allows an exception to these rules as long as you have enough capital and enough moolah in your financial statement. As long as you've raised enough money, equity, you can negate all these purposes. I think this is where the $250 million offer came from. Originally, it was supposed to be $100 million. This would certainly give Meta more equity, pay off some of their debt. They could easily, uplist to Nasdaq through Torch then. Torch's debt was already paid off by this point. So I think this is where that stock offering came from for to go up to 165 million shares. It came from right here because now they need to raise additional capital to get uplisted on the Nasdaq. And I think that's what caused problems. If you think otherwise, please comment below. And again, I found out that this was a bit premeditated. So in this video, when I do the dividend calculation, this is pre-bird. That was my first video showing how I did the dividend calculation. Before it was just a long series of Reddit posts and here and there, and I try to explain like how you do this on text, and it did not translate well. Some things are better shown. So in that particular video, if you go and watch it, I do two calculations. First, I do the calculation based on oil prices around that time that George gave that presentation. And I calculated out what the special dividend would be at the time and why 20 would be a low number. When I used the outstanding Torchlight shares at that time, which was about 145 million. This was post-February offerings. Now they're at about 145 million shares, just under. It was still way too high. And I'm like, those don't match up, those numbers. Let me try something else. And then I used the 165 million outstanding shares, and the numbers lined up. And I even made a note. I said, wow, so it looks like they planned to do that back then. That was really interesting. And I found that out through the math, was that they intended to 165 million shares. And seeing this tweet now, hindsight, remember I said I could make more money if I just bought all Torchlight, and hindsight's 2020. Seeing this tweet now, saying that they had stale financials, and then seeing this, saying that you can negate those if you raise enough capital, and you have enough capital, makes sense that this is when, more or less, this was pretty much premeditated back in April to raise that additional capital. In the long run, Meta did get uplisted. Meta had significant cash now to purchase nanotechnologies. Meta had significant cash to carry themselves over, trying to get off the ground. And now they have cash to make their brand new facility that's being built. This was, of course, all paid by you, the shareholder. And because of the popularity at that time of a dividend and potential squeeze back in June when this capital was raised. This capital was, these stocks were issued sometime between when the special dividend was announced and the record date when the price of Torchlight was pretty high. So that's my finding, more or less, is that the 165 million outstanding shares of Torchlight dates back to about March or April. And of course, by the time they submit it, they have to resubmit it, and it's that negative feedback loop. Let's go to instance number 3. Torch the shorts. Torch the shorts. Okay. June 11th. Torchlight has their vote for the merger. It's at this time that you vote to increase the share count, e.g. issue some new capital. Number 2, reverse splits. This is, and people were talking about it, and some people said, that's not a thing, but, it was a thing now, reverse splits. So, according to the CEO of ILS, and I learned this while doing DD and ILS, very common thing that happens when you do get on the Nasdaq is a reverse split. That's actually pretty common with reverse takeovers and reverse splits, as stated by CEO Nicholas Link. So it's after this that the infamous Torch the Shorts tweets come out. Torch the Shorts came out 2 days later, June 13th. As stated here, George says, to commemorate the Torchlight Metamaterials merger, we are thinking of launching a one-time limited edition Shorts and Flames this summer. If we get 500 likes on this post, we may actually do it. Smiley face, hashtag get your shorty, hashtag BBQ season, hashtag Sunday Rose. They may do it. They then say in the next tweet, a couple hours later, thank you for the support. 500 in less than an hour. If we get over 1,000, we will donate all proceeds to American Red Cross because they help prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies. Ladies' versions will be available too. Hashtag get your shorty. So it's given like, okay, we might do it. Ha ha ha. And then like, oh, well, we'll give the money to the Red Cross, the proceeds. We have yet to see Torch the Shorts. We never saw Torch the Shorts in the summer. Did George actually mean to sell the shorts? My question is, what was the motivation of this? So this came at a time when there was the merger and the voting to merge had been agreed upon. This also came at a time when the options started to trade. It was fully realized by both companies that they would have a bit longer of a time frame than perhaps they anticipated with the options trading. Metamaterials prides itself on being advised by the legal team of Apple. I'm not sure if that's applicable in this situation or not. It also prides itself on having a staff of very esteemed people who have illustrious careers in their fields, and they're from very top-tier companies. It was fully realized at this point that options would throw a wrench in some of the plans. So what was the purpose of Torch the Shorts? Many people wonder this. Did George actually mean this at short sellers? Or was this intended to do something else? Was this intended, some people speculate, to pump up the stock? Because hindsight, they had that offer coming out, right? That was right before they released that offer, before they announced the dividend. They're pumping up the stock. Was that signified to pump up the stock? Was that used as a tactic to create like a sense of community? Oh, I got like an eyelash in my eye. Hold on. Because it's becoming apparent now that at this time in June that there are communities forming of people who have interest in specific companies. It's like a little club, right? Is this like the signature of the club? There's many things we can speculate on Torch the Shorts because the motive of that isn't clear. Torch the Shorts does line up with the stock offering and the dividend. We can only speculate on Torch the Shorts, and some people have asked George questions about what his intentions were with Torch the Shorts. What did George mean by Torch the Shorts? Did he try to create a sense of community of people who would hold the stock for him? Did he use it to taunt short sellers? Did he use this tactic to implement the seeds of the boogeyman? That one might sound like a reach, but like I said, originally this was called the boogeyman theory. And if you go by the boogeyman theory, then perhaps the seed of the boogeyman was really cemented here, although it dates back again to that April where they were having problems and there was delays. And then as you see again, there's delays. And then the company, again, is frustrated. Here's that sense of community and Torch the Shorts. It sort of brings out that shorts, the boogeyman. So if anything bad happens now, guys, between now and whenever, it's the boogeyman. Maybe not. I will say this about Torch the Shorts. It certainly created a lot of emotion. It elicited a lot of emotion with people. And George Palikaris even said that here, like, wow, 1,000 likes. Oh, and he has a follow-up post to it, right? Saying that you're going to donate the money to charity. You're going to look like a good guy by donating this money to charity. But that has yet to happen. So yeah, what was the intention? It leads you, the viewer, to question what was his intention. If like the charity never happened, the charity means you're a good guy, right? This never came about. This torched the shorts. There were no shorts. You know, if you want to look at this from a figurative standpoint, it was not the short sellers who got torched, but it was the shareholders who held on, who rallied around this post, who got torched. Their portfolio got torched. They're holding up the stock that got torched, and you know, some people took 90% losses, up to 90% losses on that. Let's move on to instance 4. Another instance, July 14th. George Palikaris tweets this. After what people thought was the cuss-up change on Nasdaq, everybody applauded. Woo! I know DJ worked tirelessly calling up Nasdaq. He was able to use his phone skills and get like a direct phone line into Nasdaq. He called Nasdaq. The cuss-up was changed. Woo! And then the cuss-up went back to oil and energy. And here George is tweeting at what looks like frustration. He says it's frustrating. But at the same time, he also said that this would take a while. This isn't easy. That this is with 2 companies in different countries. It's an international event. And the companies are from totally different sectors, right? Metamaterials is from a technology sector. You know, Metamaterials is in its own sector yet. So it's technology, semiconductors. Then you have Torchlight, which is in the energy sector, oil and gas. 2 different sectors, 2 different countries. Things are going to take a while. There's options trading. Things are going to take a while. There's assets left on the books. Is this tweet like actual frustration? Or is it something else because they knew this would take a while? Is George trying to relate here? Meta is advised by a very intelligent team with esteemed careers. Does this tweet, what's the significance of this tweet? Is George trying to relate to the shareholder investor? Is this an attempt to try and hold hands? I'm not sure, looking back on all this, why he did this tweet. He would know at this point, with knowing the insider information, why this cuss-up is going back and forth. It makes me wonder what the point of this tweet was. Like, is this going back to torch the shorts, trying to get like a sense of community of people who want to hold the stock? I have a lot of questions, and the further I dig into this, I have more questions about the motives of people. Hey, it's me again. That concludes end of part 2. This is going to be at least 3 parts, maybe even 4 parts now at this point. So we're at the end of July. After the torch the shorts debacle and the cuss-up change, we are now at the end of July, and we still have a long way to go. This might be into part 3 and maybe part 4 because there is a light at the end of this tunnel. So that might be the part 4. Like I said, this is a big project. This was a big project for me. Okay, now it's time to edit that. I just did a rough edit. We're already at like a 20-minute mark. Time to put in pictures and graphs and everything. Okay, guys, I will see you in the next episode, episode 3. Goodbye.